Chat Sports. We are live with breaking news on Ohio State head coach Urban Meyer. Now, Ohio State head coach Urban Meyer, a couple weeks back, was suspended. Ohio State gave a 14-day window to come up with a decision on what they would do with Meyer's future after a report from Stadium's Brett McMurphy about improprieties with relating to Meyer lying to the media at Big Ten Media Days in late July related to Zach Smith, Ohio State's former wide receivers coach, his allegations of abuse towards his wife and what Meyer knew, what his wife Shelly Meyer knew, what was potentially covered up, with almost the entire country outside of Columbus calling for his job for the past 2.5-3 weeks. It has now been decided Urban Meyer will be suspended for Ohio State's first 3 games of the 2018 college football season. That kicks off in 10 days from today. Ohio State hosting Oregon State in Columbus on September 1st. After that, September 8th, they host Rutgers, a Big Ten game on September 8th, and then following up the 3-game suspension, finalizing it out on September 8th, Ohio State will head to Dallas in a neutral site game, but in the city where TCU plays. TCU ranked the number 16 team in the country, will play host to Ohio State at AT&T Stadium, where the Dallas Cowboys play on September 15th. Game 3 of Ohio State's season. Urban Meyer will not be fired. He will remain Ohio State's head coach. He will be able to participate in activities throughout the week. The only real suspension going forward is not being able to be on the sidelines or in the locker room during those 3 games. Home opener against Oregon State, a home game against Rutgers on September 8th, and then their big matchup of really the first half of their season, September 15th in Dallas, Texas, at Cowboy Stadium, AT&T Stadium, where the Dallas Cowboys play against number 16th ranked Ohio State. So Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith also taking a suspension throughout this process. Now, Smith will be suspended around the same time as Urban Meyer will. He will be reinstated as Ohio State's Athletic Director on September 16th, the day after the 3rd game that Urban Meyer is suspended for. So the investigation found that, although I want to read the report from Ohio State here, although neither Urban Meyer nor Gene Smith condoned or cover up the alleged domestic abuse by Zach Smith, they failed to take sufficient management action relating to Zach Smith's misconduct and retained an assistant coach who is not performing as an appropriate role model for Ohio State student athletes. Pursuing that conduct is not consistent with the values of Ohio State and reflects poorly on the university. Their handling of this matter did not exhibit the kind of leadership, high standards we expect of our athletic director, head coach, assistant coaches, and all on the football staff. Now, Urban Meyer addressed the media that camped out for more than 11 hours as the Ohio State President, Board of Trustees, and Urban Meyer himself and his wife sat and debated about what his future would be. The second best coach in college football today behind Nick Saban, one of the top 5 or 6 potentially in the history of college football, thinking out 10 years if he continues to coach. Already has 3 national titles, a 46-3 if my math does me well, record in the Big Ten in the regular season in his 6 seasons in Columbus. Was there debate whether they fire him, whether they keep him? All kinds of rumors were flying today, whether or not the Board of Trustees and the President were going back and forth on whether to suspend him or not, whether Urban Meyer denied a recommendation for suspension, whether he kind of put up his fist and say, I'm either coming back or I'm gone. There's no in between. But Urban Meyer did address the media at the end of this 11-hour debate, saying very little, but he said he gave Zach Smith, the former Ohio State wide receiver coach, the benefit of the doubt, and he followed his heart and not his head. From doing a little bit of research, anyone could tell you that Urban Meyer has known Zach Smith since he was in diapers, close to 30 years, since he was the grandson of former Ohio State coach Earl Bruce, who Urban Meyer got his coaching start under in the mid-'80s. So Urban Meyer, 6 seasons at Ohio State, 12-0, 12-2, 14-1 as national title, 12-1, 11-2, and 12-2. The quote from Meyer here, I did a poor job at Media Day. It's a big reason why we're here today, but there was no intent to mislead. Let's kind of take you back through this timeline and just the details of why Urban Meyer was suspended. So he said at Big Ten Media Day, asked by a numerous amount of media members, but most notably Brett McMurphy, formerly of ESPN, now with Stadium and reporting on Facebook at the time of this report, asked Meyer, had Zach Smith been arrested? Had he been taken in with police? And Meyer said he knew nothing of it. He said that he called back to the office. They knew nothing of it, which a week and a half, 2 weeks later, he said was a lie. He did mislead the media. Now, text from Zach Smith's ex-wife now, Courtney Smith, to Brett McMurphy said that, hey, Urban Meyer's wife knew about this. She talked with Courtney Smith during the time, and there was debate. Did Shelly Meyer, and why would Shelly Meyer not let her husband know that potentially the wife of one of his assistant coaches was being abused, was being physically mistreated by her husband? Meyer said he never discussed the text with his wife, and then later on, after he was suspended from Ohio State's team indefinitely a couple weeks, 2.5 weeks ago, he said that he did, in fact, mislead media. He did talk out of turn, and kind of, I think, in my opinion, what by admitting to that kind of set the course in line to be reinstated as Ohio State's head coach, as he will be in about 20-ish days from now. So want to know from you guys, should Urban Meyer have been fired as Ohio State's head coach? Look, when the news came out, I, like many other people, said, hey, this looks really bad. This doesn't look good. You almost never suspend a guy in athletics, especially in college athletics, and bring him back. When they put those suspended with pay, without pay, taking a leave of absence, that usually means we're negotiating a buyout, we're negotiating a separation. Urban Meyer defying the odds of this. Should he have been fired? Did Ohio State make the decision? Type Y if you think, yes, he should have been fired. He covered something up. He shouldn't have this guy in his staff. Type no if he shouldn't have. Whether they got it right, whether he should have been suspended at all. Take a look at this. Yes for fired. Type in the comments, and for no if you are watching Facebook Live. We are live on this one. Urban Meyer suspended for 3 weeks. Ohio State's first 3 games of the number 5 Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, Ohio State 3 weeks ago came out in the coaches poll as the number 3 team in the country, but just earlier this week, a couple days ago, the Associated Press, in potentially a slight at Ohio State that they're a worse team, of course, without Urban Meyer, and the uncertainty of Meyer being their coach, came in at number 5 in the AP poll, 2 spots behind Big Ten counterpart Wisconsin. Now, a lot of Big Ten teams in this top 25. If we continue to scroll through it, we'll see Penn State also in the top 10. Once we get outside the top 10, we'll see other Big Ten East opponents like Michigan State and Michigan breaking into the number 16 spot. We talked about, when does Urban Meyer make his transition back to the sidelines, when he will be coaching Ohio State on game day, September 15th, 3 weeks from this coming Saturday. So, 24 days from now, he will, well, I guess that'll be his last game suspended. After that, he will be returning. But 24 days from now, TCU in Dallas hosting Ohio State, a matchup of 2 teams inside of the top 20. So you've seen all the high-level competitive games that Ohio State had. The only one Urban Meyer will miss will be that game against number 16th ranked TCU in a neutral site game in TCU's home city of Arlington, Texas, Dallas, Texas, greater Dallas, Texas area, where the Cowboys play. So to recap for you, Oregon State, week 1, home game. Urban Meyer will not be the head coach. Week 2 against Big Ten bottom dweller Rutgers, and then week 3, TCU, a matchup of 2 teams ranked inside the top 16. One of the better intersectional games in college football in the month of September. One I am looking forward to, given that Chat Sports Studio films out of the city of Dallas. That is going to be very interesting to see if Ohio State is the same team. Now, he'll be able to be in practice. He will be able to be in meeting. He'll be able to talk to coaches during this time frame. The only suspension is going to be he will not be on the field during the games or be in the locker room before or after the game. Let's kind of run through the Ohio State schedule. We see the first 3 games he's going to miss there. He'll make his return at home on September 22nd versus Tulane. Then the big game, Penn State, a matchup of 2 top 10 teams. If Ohio State's undefeated, if they get past TCU, that might be a matchup of 2 top 6 or 7 games. That will be Urban Meyer's second game back on the sideline. Indiana, Minnesota, Purdue, 3 games they would win no matter whether he was on the sidelines or not. But the month of November gets pretty interesting for Ohio State if they have any hiccups breaking in a new quarterback, a new offensive coordinator that's now going to be their temporary head coach for 3 games. Nebraska with Scott Frost, the National Coach of the Year. UCF going undefeated in 2017. Michigan State, a team ranked inside the top 11, top 12. Maryland, which is a game they should win, also facing scrutiny with their coaching staff, whether they mistreated players, whether they'll be on the sidelines this year or not themselves. And then their big game, the game, November 24th, at home versus the University of Michigan, a team ranked number 14 in the AP poll, number 14 in the coaches poll. So a lot of big games for Ohio State this year. But Urban Meyer will only miss one that I think anybody thought they had a chance of losing, and that'll be September 15th against TCU in AT&T Stadium, where the Dallas Cowboys play. Reaction for you guys watching on Facebook Live: is Urban Meyer's legacy tarnished? Does this suspension, does the potential, they say he didn't cover anything up, he didn't have any misconduct, but didn't act in accordance of the expectations of a head coach at Ohio State, and as such he'll be suspended for 3 games. Hit heart if you think, yes, his legacy is tarnished, he shouldn't even be the coach. Everyone's going to remember, if you look at his bio at the end of his career, will this be in the first paragraph? Will this not be in the first paragraph? I want to leave it up to you guys. Urban Meyer's records at Ohio State: 0 losses, 2 losses, 1, 2, and 2. He has had as good of a 6-year run as any coach I can remember starting off of school. So that is the report out of Columbus. Urban Meyer suspended for 3 games.